unfortunately low priority. And so they just came up here. They didn't have power for 10 days. Oh, wow.
Start webinar.
Hey,
Hey there.
Start webinar.
good, how are you?
Good.
Yeah.
Start webinar.
You're the person that felt the sorriest for me. That's kind of how I got into it.
I was like. Push leave computer. Yeah, take back the thing. You're like trying to run around.
No, you start off
with
Right.
it,
and it's.
I don't anticipate.
No, did you
being
click they were on board? I think.
Sean
So.
doing so much. It's not gonna be like.
Yes,
it was.
the thing they're loading into.
Yeah, yeah, the hardest part about, or that's. Stuff that I'm right around.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, once you get 6 o'clock, usually around, but for that part of. I can take notes today, since Andrea's not here.
Okay, thanks. This, I don't know, I haven't heard from, I know Carla will be here.
Will be here.
Well,
Oh, really? Okay. She had some items that I put under for new business. Oh, wonderful. Okay, perfect. John, you heard from John?
not her, I'm assuming.
I would think he would be here.
Yeah, he usually tells you if he's not gonna show up.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone on?
Not yet. We've got one participant, it's just us.
Yeah, it's just. Bear with me, I'm not sure if I have them or they just joined. I'm like, how do you do this?
I think we'll just join.
I think so. Too. I think you've been on Zoom, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
most of the time I just show it, like, I don't think he lets me in, I think he
Okay.
just shows up.
All right. Great.
Well, we need 2 to go. More either person or Zoom.
So did everybody have a good weekend? It was beautiful
Yeah,
outside.
it was
So pretty.
It was so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to step outside yesterday with my mother and my daughter. It was wonderful.
nice.
Yeah,
I spent the weekend with my hands in the dirt.
I like that. I like the
Good for
dirt.
you.
Yeah,
You see what's happening out front of my house, take a look at it when you go by.
Okay.
I have a big area laid out that I'm gonna be turning into a native wildflower garden.
Wonderful. Oh, that's so great.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that I won't be able to maintain it to look good for a,
You know, there's,
for a front yard setting.
you might have, you're already so far along in the process, you might not care, but there's grants you can get through. Wild Ones, is it?
Well, there's wild ones, but MSD.
Yeah.
I'm doing an MSD grant.
Is
Oh,
it the
you
rain
are?
garden? That's
Uh-huh.
cool.
We just put in new stairs and I've been thinking about doing an MSD grant as well. Was it pretty easy?
Easy.
Okay,
The
great.
hardest part is getting a design and just making sure that we've got all the i's dotted and.
I think I'm gonna hire one of the contractors that they work with. Did you do it you're doing it yourself?
Well, no, I'm
Okay.
not doing the installation. I'm not, I got a
So you're a quorum.
consultant.
Where's
that-
where's John?
uh,
Oh, yes.
do all the cookies, covers and things on. But right now, I've got a little area that I'm doing myself that wasn't eligible
Right.
for the
So you
MSD.
just-
Gotcha.
Because you can't.
Paul, can you hear us okay?
Existing
Yeah,
slot.
garden,
So,
yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it has to be like dirt or,
Yeah,
whatever. Turf. Yes,
Yeah.
turf, that's the word, yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Perfect.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. It's 5 o'clock, so I know Amna will be late and Pam is coming in late. What's that?
Oh, it's fine.
4 o'clock. I'm sorry. I live my life.
I was like, what?
So, Amna and Pam will be late. I know Carla and Andre Wright will not be here, so we'll just see about the others. So I will call the meeting to order and ask if everyone's had a chance to approve the minutes from last month, and if so, if you have a motion to approve.
I motion to approve. I reviewed them.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're going, just because I am here for about the next 20 minutes, we are going to go a little bit out of order. And Todd is not here, so, Vera, I don't know, do you have anything that you could, if it's quick, or if you wanted to add it later on?
30 seconds or less, we applied for the grant for the recycle receptacles through St. Louis Jefferson County Solid Waste Management District. They came in, they've been distributed. There's 4 left that we still need to place, but they're out. We're gonna put the funding source sticker on top of the rain bonnets Wednesday and to go out with the district and get them done. So
Okay.
there's one out front, City Hall, the blue ones, and there's one out the side door. That's all I got.
Okay. I know, Councilmember Bliss is going to be, running a little late. She's teaching a class at WashU, so she should be here with her update, but it's gonna be, a little bit. And I don't see that we have any visitors. So on the issue of commission leadership, I'm happy to serve as chair, and I think Elizabeth is willing to be vice chair. We can revisit this if there's any. I hadn't heard anything from the last meeting, so if anyone is interested in stepping up, we can certainly revisit this. But just for the sake of continuity, I was going to make a motion that I succeed as chair and Elizabeth takes over as vice chair. Any happy to discuss? I assumed the silence over the last month was anxious to.
Waiting for you to say that.
Yeah.
Did you take Elizabeth out to lunch? Please.
All right, so all in favor? Aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Thank you both.
I do think it's probably worth, because we in my tenure on the commission, we've had these leadership changes sort of come unannounced, and all of a sudden there's sort of a vacuum of, well, everyone what's around, who's going to do what. So I think it would be good at some point to, I don't know, have a succession where maybe the treasurer would automatically assume vice chair. But I think it's just worth talking about.
Or I definitely don't want to be chair, so. So if somebody would like to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no terms here. I mean, we can revisit this at any time. So if anyone is interested in leadership or has any ideas for how we might go about it, because quite literally, I think probably we've had 5 chairs in my tenure, and there's always an awkward silence when someone's asked to step into one of the.
We didn't even ask Jamie, I just nominated her.
Yeah, that is how, that was Jamie. Jamie did a great job.
She did a great job.
But anyway, for what it's worth, yeah,
Currently, what office is that? There's chair,
vice chair, secretary,
secretary,
who's.
but you mentioned treasurer, but there's not.
No treasurer, I'm sorry, I meant secretary, right, that's it, but wouldn't, I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with the other commissions, if they have any kind of,
I'm not either, but it's a good question. I'm
Yeah.
happy to do a little digging and find out.
yeah, I'd be interested to know, I mean,
Okay.
it's, like I said, all of these seem to happen sort of unannounced. Yes, Paul? What I heard.
Just get the sound off and
Yeah.
video off.
Okay. So let's move on to the solar program updates. We had a subcommittee had a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago on the solar program. And with respect to the rebates, I think where we came down was we were going to leave the program focused on residential solar and not extend it into EV charging. I think we came down on $500 for a rebate amount. I did clarify that the $20,000, since it's been appropriated, that money will be there until it's exhausted. So we don't have to get enough applications by a certain deadline or risk losing some of the funding.
We
Which
have
was
to
good
go-
news.
Would we have to roll it over into the budget for next year? 'Cause
I
that's
don't
part- Is
know.
that's part of the 100?
But as Pam explained, that 20,000 was put in a fund or an account where it's there until we use it, right?
Okay,
Right.
okay, that's good.
The one open question that I had, that I'll throw out here, and I spoke with Pam about this, was a specific start date for the rebates, like who's eligible and at what point do they qualify? And Pam suggested going back to the July date, and I don't have the exact date when the budget was passed, since that's when the $20,000 was allocated as if you install your solar is installed after that date, and I think we might check with Eric about this, but I would think the sort of the trigger for the rebate would be when you get your final inspection. So if your inspection is dated after the city budget passed, you would be then eligible once the application is ready to apply for a rebate.
And that one could be a quick discussion with Mara, just to see how many permits we have for solar installation.
Yeah, I had that conversation with Mara, and she said, so far in 2023, we've had 7 applications. In 2022, there were, I think around 15. She also told me, I reached out to her about the application process to see if we could just, instead of creating a whole new document, if we could just add it to the application for permit for the solar panels. And she said, instead of adding a new field, so the application is actually for mechanical, electrical and plumbing permits. And solar, there's a checkbox for solar, it's electrical/solar. And there's a field there where you describe construction project, and she recommended that we tell the residents to just write in that field rebate, solar rebate, because they can search for that. You know, it's a searchable field, and
Right.
rebate would be easy for them to track it
Right.
instead of having to create a whole new.
Right, and Pam was asking me about the process for when someone came to the city to get a permit. To make sure, you know, maybe they missed, if there was an article in the newspaper or social media or on the city website, if they were still unaware there was a rebate available. That going through that permitting process, they could be made aware.
So once
Yeah.
they apply for the permit, I'm just thinking logistically through here, and it may be too advanced, and I'll keep it really short, Jeff.
No.
So we have $20,000 out of the 100 grand for the sustainability, and a maximum is 500 rebate per
We would make 500 flat.
person, per property. Okay, and then they'll apply for the permit. They get the final inspection through planning.
Right.
And then how do they get the money refunded? I guess we'll just have to work through the logistics at some point.
Right,
Because we'll have to
right,
figure
that
out
would be.
what budget
Right,
code.
we would need to check with Eric, and I'm sure there would be some sort of legal vetting that would be needed there, but.
Yeah, okay.
But I would imagine that once you get that final permit, that would be what would authorize
Right.
the
Yeah.
rebate.
Yes.
So they probably, if we went with Mara's suggestion on their application for the permit, they would write in solar rebate. And then once eventually they had their final inspection.
Right,
And the inspector approved it, they would get a check cut
right,
to them, but we would have to set it up with finance and.
Yeah, and I think we probably need to let, like, or any of our deposits on our excavation permits, they have to request their deposit back
Okay,
once they get the final inspection. And then somebody in Public Works will say, please return deposit, approved for deposit refund. So I don't know if
Okay.
that's something we'll have to.
We can take that offline and, once we, if it's confirmed the $500, I didn't know if you wanted to just confirm that now, then we can work the situation on the back end with Mara and finance to get it set up.
yeah, that's, so, yeah, I think the goal today was going to be just outline the parameters. And then let Sean take it from there with Mara and Eric and whoever else needs to be involved in doing that.
So if I could jump in, Sean, what you were saying is the way we would sort of describe this $500 rebate is as a refund of the permit fee.
Yeah, a rebate. So the permit fees and the inspection fees are likely will be less than $500. Because that varies, those fees vary on the total scope of your projects. So I could see, it seems to me that if we just refunded or waived out the cost for the permit fees, that could be easy. That also could add an extra step
Yeah.
administratively. So it might be easier just to say, you'll get a rebate for $500 and we don't really go into the weeds about this covers the cost of your,
Right.
it just happens to be that when they apply for their solar permit, they would write in the field rebate,
Mhm.
and that's how we would track it. And then planning would probably, from being able to track that field, they would be able to inform the finance department. You know, okay, these are the people that we need to send rebate checks to.
And it looks like just to, if I could add on one other question, that calendar year 2022, there is 15 applications for solar. Did I hear that?
Yeah, I said, I think, in total there was 20, but that includes amendments to existing panels. That's not like, it wasn't, it wasn't 20 completely new solar projects.
And was that residential or is that a mix of residential? and
That was
commercial?
all residential.
So if we were able to spend the 20K in terms of rebates in one calendar year, that would be 40 completed projects, which would be a very substantial acceleration. Right.
Yeah,
There's only
double what,
7 for this
yeah, and there's
year.
only 7 so far.
But is it from January 1 or July 1? That makes the difference on the $500.
Oh, that's a
right?
great question.
So we just need to track where they're at and then. when who's eligible,
I
right?
think that would probably be for the calendar year, not the fiscal year.
And I sort of
That'd be
wonder,
a question.
Well, I
Okay.
think we should do. To me, an easy would just be to do it once when we approved the budget for that. So that would be this fiscal year, starting with the fiscal year. Instead of the calendar year.
With the trigger being,
But I know that's a final decision for you all, but it seems to me that that's like the clearest way to communicate it to the community. It makes the most sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
that's
totally agree.
fine,
Okay.
that's fine, yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, say that again.
fiscal year.
Fiscal year, all right.
that's when it's, the final inspection comes during that fiscal year or
The
the initial
application.
application?
The application
So
for the
application
from
has to
July
be-
1st
yeah,
on.
After July 1st.
So
Yeah.
July 1st, 2023, this past July,
It's the application is the trigger, not the final inspection.
correct.
Yes.
You still have to have the final inspection
Yes.
to get
to
it, but
there.
the clock
Yeah.
starts counting
Yes.
at the application.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there's 2 inspections. So I'm not sure the timing of those 2 inspections, I just know there's 2. So I would assume the final inspection happens at the end.
do you know the date of, but that budget date was? Or I don't know if it's important for our motion, but
July 1st, just
Okay.
you could say the 24 fiscal year.
So July 1, 2023 was the day of the vote.
Went to an effect. Budget.
yeah, and I think the amount is the most important parameter here for us as far as for us to approve. And just a comment on the low number, the only thing I can think of is that maybe, I know there've been all sorts of supply chain issues with the solar industry, and I just wonder if that's backing up why we've seen fewer so far this year, are tracking for fewer than we
It's a
did in
good point.
2022. But, you know, I mean,
And they
is,
didn't do the grow solar either. So
Right.
like, if you were wanting to get solar panels, I would have waited another year to have the group buy. It's a significant price.
right,
And that is
Section.
worth mentioning the
Yeah.
deadline for that.
yeah,
Is there something?
The deadline for, so the Grow Solar deadline for the Group Buy program this year is November 19th or 18th. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I have that in front of me, but it is quickly approaching. It's mid-November, and I did reach out to see if what the timing for next year's program would be, and they said at this point, they can't confirm if there will be a group buy program for next year. It's kind of every year they have to reevaluate. So 2024 for them is not confirmed yet, although they might extend the deadline. And I said, well, that would be great for the Webster Groves residents, because a mid-November deadline doesn't give us
Not a lot of time to
Right.
get yourself.
for these people to
Yeah.
make a decision. So I have not heard back yet if they're going to do that, but I did say that we would appreciate it if that happened.
In terms of what the deadline is, that's a deadline to have a signed contract.
I think so, because that's the way it worked. Like, we signed our contract to be part of the Grow Solar, but we actually didn't get ours installed until like December. And so in order to like get the group buy rate, we had to sign our contract by X date, but they didn't actually start installation until December.
and like we discussed on the call, I think, obviously, we hope that the Grow Solar program would spur more residential solar activity in Webster, but I don't think it doesn't have to, it's not associated with the rebates that we offer. People can still go out on their own with their own developer and or installer and put solar on the roof. I mean, it would be a real big help, kind of help give a boost to residential solar. And the last thing I wanted to cover before I make a motion on this is, do we need to have a minimum size? And what you said about people, I mean, I don't know if the amendments that you mentioned were people, adding a solar array and then adding another, whatever, half kilowatt to it.
What if we do like a cost, like your project must be more than 2,500 or something like that, or then they can do what they want, but we're not like giving it to somebody who's gonna put their one solar panel on or something like that.
Right, and yeah, I don't know how likely that is, but if it is somebody, just, yeah, I don't know if that, I'd open to thoughts on if we need a minimum sort of threshold to trigger the $500 rebate.
Anybody have a sense of like what would be the scope if somebody did add something? Like, what would that, do we have any data that says when we've added on to an existing solar array, the mean or average amount of additional is X?
It just depends on where you're at, right? And how much.
I mean, I kind of like your idea,
Dependent on that.
because since doesn't the city assess their permit fee based on the cost of the project?
Yes.
So if we make it
Reduction.
a certain minimum, then we don't have to worry about watts and kilowatts and.
I love that idea.
The
I like
only-
to flat, if it's over whatever 2,500, then you qualify for the rebate.
Okay,
My only caveat would be to say that it does not include the addition of batteries, because batteries really only will help the homeowner, whereas like it doesn't actually contribute to decreasing greenhouse gases. Like right now, all of our extra solar just flows back onto the grid and goes on to, be supplied. But if I have batteries, it just helps my solar and not really I guess. It's
Overall.
not-
Isolation
Yeah.
of coal.
Yeah,
power,
it's not
electricity on the grid.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that maybe would be something that we would consider not including in the upgrade.
That makes sense. If it's only solar and you're not, if
Well,
it's only
because
batteries and you're not adding
solar-
more capacity.
Yeah, if we specify solar in,
Panels. Then that would probably take care of that, right?
We wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know how the city, when people apply, how they distinguish a solar project from a battery, residential battery storage.
That's a good point, Elizabeth, because the permit says, for the solar panels, it's just like a checkbox next to the electrical. It's like you're either applying for a mechanical, electrical, or plumbing. And solar is just next to electrical, so batteries,
So, yeah, would just be like a checkbox.
yeah, although do you need a permit for?
That's what I was wondering.
For a battery?
Yeah.
Right.
I think so, because the way, so the very first time our power went out with solar, I was like, yes, we're gonna have power and you all are gonna have power. And it turns out that's not how it works, because the power, they turn it off because it flows back to the grid, and so they have to turn it off, otherwise you'll electrocute the workers.
Oh,
So,
sure.
I think you have to have the battery like built in, put in, an electrician has to put the battery into your system.
Okay.
Otherwise, you won't get that power back, is the way that I understand it. I am not an expert, so it might be a question for somebody.
It has to be attached, it'll be part of your electrical component in your
Yeah,
home, and there's an
exactly.
automatic transfer switch. If you lose power, sort of like a
Yeah,
generator.
something
Now,
like that,
as
yeah.
a totally separate aside, I mean, I think we also would encourage battery storage, because people could store excess energy during the summer afternoon and then use it at night when they're not generating. That's still, you're still bumping whatever's on the grid off the grid.
That's true.
And I don't even know if it's an important distinction to make for the purpose of making a motion to authorize.
Yeah,
That's probably true.
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we ask city to go forward with a residential solar rebate program in the amount of $500 per rebate, with the effective date of for solar permit applications of July 1st, 2023, and stipulate this would be for projects over $2,500. And I can,
And I'm assuming that $2,500 floor would. Most arrays would be over
Oh,
that unless it was really.
I would think.
Oh, yeah.
well, yeah.
Our house is tiny
Make the
and they were
motion, or you
14 on a
just,
I did just make a
okay,
motion.
so we need a second.
second.
Okay, now any discussion?
sorry, did you say 2,000 or 25?
2,500.
Is that per property or per project per property? So if I spend $2,500 and then I want to do an add of 2,500.
Per property.
Rebate of 500?
I think it's, yeah, we need to amend that to say per property
Or,
to avoid, I mean, I don't know if there's risk of double tipping, but maybe it's best we stipulate. So that someone can't technically do
Increments.
a 1 kilowatt project and 2 projects to. Again, not that I think that's a concern, but it doesn't hurt to throw that in as an amendment.
now we just need to vote, right?
Any other thoughts, comments? Paul, and is Mike there?
No, just call.
Oh, I thought Mike was there. I thought someone logged in briefly, but
No additional comments.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Paul, you're opposed or in favor?
Sorry, in favor.
Okay, thank you. A little Zoom lag.
Great,
Okay,
all right, wonderful.
all right, with that, I need to run, and Elizabeth.
I
who's
will
our
see
vice
if we
chair.
can make it through the rest
we'll
of
be
it.
going over the rest of the agenda.
Great.
I don't know, did you wanna?
You guys decide on your leadership?
Yes,
Since I missed it, I'm
Elizabeth,
sorry.
Elizabeth is our new vice chair.
Oh, excellent.
And I said, I think the only other thing, we can revisit commission leadership and, do we have some sort of succession plan in the future? This,
So who's chair?
I am chair,
Okay, nice. Thank you very much.
but there are no terms, we can revisit this everyone,
Good. Yeah, you can.
especially when we have a full panel here.
Yes, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
So with that, I will head over,
All right.
Thanks.
try to
Jen.
follow along as soon as best I can.
Sounds good. So the next thing is the celebration and the home tours. John, do you wanna give the update on this?
Sure, I put together a draft, sort of host memo to say this is what it means to be a host. And I'm thinking you guys are running it through the
Yeah,
traps here at City Hall to,
Todd is working on the liability. He was going to talk to the city attorney about liability for homeowners, but before we even spent too much attention on that, we've been trying to find, residents that participate.
Mhm.
And I have secured two residents, John Reeve and Emerson Smith, Councilmember Smith. Yeah, have both said that they would sign on. I know at one point, I believe Jamie had recommended Kelly and Pete Sadlow as possibilities. I have tried calling them a few times and have not been able to get through or even leave a voicemail. So I didn't know if anyone had connections to them or any other ideas, but I had spoke with Jeff last week or the week before and going through Mara and getting the list of those people and mailing a physical letter seemed that was gonna take too long and we really needed to identify these houses now. So I just started, I had a few names of leads and so I just called those three. So I've got the two, and if there's any other neighbors or contacts that the commission has, I would ask to reach out to them individually and see if anybody else. I think Jeff thought three would be great. If we could get more, wonderful. But yeah, I don't know how many you're thinking, John.
I'm thinking. I would like finish or something, just because partly, if there's some people might say, okay, I live in South Webster, I'll walk to the ones I can get to, but I'm not gonna schlep all the way to Tuxedo Park or vice versa.
Right.
So I think there's a certain amount of that. I think the more places, then the more things that are gonna maybe you have different versions where, whether it's on the garage or on the house, or ground mounted, or this big or that big, or with batteries, without batteries. But so the notion is that
Well,
we don't
to
have
get
time to do
sign-
the letter.
The letter, and we have to get the signs printed for the home to put in their front yards.
Right.
And if,
How do you put it in your
I
briefcase?
thought so too, but I can't find it.
Can't find your phone?
Do you want
You
us
want me
to
to
call
call
it?
him? All right.
Yeah. My briefcase is down there.
I think I
What's
saw it
Jeff's
floating in your
number?
briefcase also.
314-600-6855.
Okay,
Let me know.
Here's a question. I recognize that the letters has to go through a lot of hoops. If I could just get the addresses, I just go and knock on the door and say,
Okay,
will you
that's
be
easier.
down?
Yeah, because
It's a better way to do that.
I think that's fine. I mean, I personally do. Mara did share with me a list of addresses. It just seemed because we need to in order to get the signs printed, we have to do the QR code first. And to get the QR code, we have to have website copy that links to the QR code. And then we need to build in the printing time. So it just seems like, okay, I don't know if mailing out physical letters and getting their responses
Yeah.
and back was going to be You know, if we were gonna make it in time. So that's why we're kind of just trying to reach out directly.
Yeah, I would say if we could, if we could just like print out that list, maybe we first all eyeball it, because it might be
Yeah, maybe we
that
do.
buddies of yours or buddies of mine.
Perfect. I can, oh, actually, here, right here. So this has the start date. So this is 2022 applications are at the top. But if you want to pass it around and if there's any names on there that you, actually, are names even on that list, or is it just the addresses?
Addresses might be okay too, though.
It's just
maybe
the
it means-
addresses.
It's just addresses, okay.
Well, you can back that up through the internet easily.
It would give names for
You might not recognize the addresses in this moment, but.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with Webster being Webster, you kind of, you know, all right, maybe I know someone close there, or
10 seems like a lot. Do you think? I mean,
Oh, you
maybe,
think 10 would be plenty for stops, you mean, or 10 is a lot in what sense?
10 seems a lot, and that you're spreading it thin. And, you know, maybe I could potentially see if we have too many. Some people may set aside the time and they don't get visited or whatever. Or are we just doing this as a drive-by?
I think it's a stop, walk out.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
would
would solar
limit it
people are.
a little bit. Maybe.
I've asked the two that said they would be willing, I framed it as, you know, nobody will be going inside your homes, but if you would be available and, you know, in the yard to answer
Mhm.
questions if people
Mhm.
drive up or walk up.
Mhm.
That's how I framed it. But yeah, to be available to chit chat.
Yeah, and I find that people with solar panels just love to talk about their solar panels and their.
Mm.
You know, all the geeky parts of it. So I think. And the QR code, going back to that,
Yeah.
that's a QR code that sends you to the website that explains the.
Yeah, well, and that's also something to talk about. Yes. And we don't even have to do a QR code if you don't want to, that could make things simpler, but for for NOMO April. On those yard signs was a QR code that, you know, people walking by would scan and then it would take them to the city website and said, this is. An initiative, you know, by the Green Space and Sustainability Commissions, it's ecologically beneficial, yada, 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 explain it. So that was the thinking for this, we would have a
Yeah.
QR code that explains the rebates likely.
Yeah.
This tour is 10/22, which is. After both of the power hours, so we wouldn't advertise that. We could also put a couple bullet points by the homeowners if they wanted to share, you know. Anything in particular. You know, they,
Mhm.
Where the QR code would have. Info specific to that. Location.
address. We could,
I would, that's, you're starting to layer on a lot of
yeah,
complexity. I'm thinking if it just sent you to, hey, there's this $500 rebate program, here's the deeds, here's the dates.
yeah,
And maybe also brings you to Grow Solar and explains what additional benefits you can get through Grow Solar. I think I would go,
less is more.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
yeah, and then we're not making more ass to the host to
Yeah.
generate all this data.
Right, and then you also are tied into what happens if somebody drops out or somebody else wants to come in.
Complain.
Has anybody looked at if you put these things on a map, how the solar is distributed across the city of Webster?
Mm,
Yeah, I surprised, but based on looking at the addresses, it looks fairly dispersed.
Mara may have that. She does map out things, she may have it.
Okay, so what, do we need to touch on anything else? Solar wise, that we're missing, and efforts to keep on.
Well, I guess, so I will share, so next week Vera and I are at a conference, and since I'm I'm part-time. That's my whole time for next week, all of my work hours. So I've got the yard signs, working on the graphics and the QR code and getting those printed. I also have for the Solar-bration, I've got space not confirmed, but on hold right now for Olive and Oak
Oh, great.
for October 22nd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have not paid for that yet because it's contingent upon Grow Solar being able to come and man a table and hopefully if Ameren could also come and man a table, possibly answer questions on billing or, their own community solar program, which helps people that want to support solar but can't install panels. Both of those, I've put requests out to both groups to come and I just haven't, they're working on it, but they haven't been able to confirm yet if they'll be able to make that date. So if they can't make it, then there's probably really no reason to hold the event.
Okay.
So that's the status on the physical Solar-bration events.
Could I have a friendly amendment to that?
Yeah.
I wonder if we can get somebody from DOE who can explain the federal funds that are available for solar.
That's a great idea. Do you have any contacts there?
There's an event going on this Friday night. It's through Indivisible, but it's about the IRA. And I'm sure there'll be somebody there who might be willing to.
I'm thinking somebody who actually, their job is at the DOE and they could wrap down, here's. They could. I think that's sort of where I start. And the they've got DOE staff in Metro St. Louis.
So what about somebody from the Midwest Climate Collective or something like that?
And this is.
I think if we
it's an IRS
strike out
program.
with DOE, but I think if there's somebody who's actually running the program, that they're sort of closer to the actual person who's implementing the program, that's good. And I don't understand. I know DOE's got a big presence at Weldon Springs at the old uranium processing plant. And I think they've got some staff down at Federal Building in downtown St. Louis. I don't know that they have somebody that can explain their program, but you would think they're moving hundreds of millions of dollars and I think there'd be somebody around here who could explain it. And that, I think at the end of the day, the DOE money is going to be more substantial than Webster Groves. And I don't
Yeah,
remember
probably.
exactly what the federal.
Considerably.
yeah, I would think so.
Probably we could cold call the DOE. Most of those places, they can put you in touch with someone. I'm sure they have like a public outreach person.
Yeah.
It's probably not too difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah, I gotta believe that this is like one of their priorities, is figuring out how to implement these programs and. Basically,
So I have a concern about the date and Grow Solar, because if their deadline is mid-November and this event is October 22nd, this isn't gonna do anything for them to be able to get people signed up and into their program that quickly. Because I've worked with them and there's a little turnaround time and
Yeah.
then people have to have time to digest it
Yeah.
and make decisions, and 3 weeks isn't gonna cut it.
Yeah, that's fair. I forget how, well, really the date came to be because, originally we were going to try Llewellyn's. Llewellyn's or Olive and Oak because they both have solar panels. Llewellyn's wasn't able to host and this was the only date that Olive and Oak could accommodate us.
the October 7th date, I mean,
The October
22nd.
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 I thought. Our house tour was Saturday, October 7th.
Mm-mm. No, the thinking was that the house tour would be the same day as the Solar-bration. So October 7th didn't work for either venue, because it was going to be a start here or end here.
I think that's.
They don't have
That's
to go
sort of
together.
the secondary, I think it's like, that's the icing, that's not the cake, the cake is people seeing actual live.
I just don't think we would be able to pull this off by October 7th. get the print signs printed and.
Okay, well, what I would suggest is that whatever date we pick, that it's just driven by the home tour, that the celebration part that is the tail, that is not the dog. And we figure out what is the best date for the tour,
Okay.
and then it's my experience, just like I said, there's Audubon, the Wild Ones, is probably 3 different groups that sustainable backyard tours. There's 3 different groups that do something pretty much like this with a very similar constituency that we're gonna draw,
Mhm.
that is done here in Maplewood and Webster and Brentwood.
So then do we table the celebration and efforts to like be done? Or do
I
you
would
not have
suggest we
enough?
do that.
Well, those groups also, though, when you go to their individual houses, there is something there beyond just a homeowner. There's generally representatives of the group there. They can answer questions more about the program. If we're not, if it's just a QR code on a sign in front of somebody's house, I'm not sure what the hook is for somebody to go, yeah, I really want to do this. Yeah.
It's not the QR code, it's the homeowner, like
Well,
my
right, but
experience.
you have to be hooked into something. to-
Right, but let me finish my sentence, if I could. I've been to many of these things within the last 2 months. It is the homeowners who are the spokespeople. There might be some other people from the organization who are there, but it's the star of the show is the homeowner, because the homeowner can say, oh, I planted this, or I tried that and it died, but then I did this, or whatever. It's a chance for people to actually eyeball, oh, this is the garden, this is the water feature, this is the solar panels. And that, that's sort of, that is the currency, is the host. And that they'll be the one to explain, and if they're there, maybe it's 10 to 1, right? I forget what I put in the draft, they stole it from these house tours, but there's just a period of time where the homeowners are sitting in a chair outside, people come by. They show them all what they do, they show them
Yeah.
how much they go out there.
I know John Reeves gonna be out of the country for 3 weeks, so I don't know if October 7th would work for him. But
Let's
No.
continue this over emails and just, cause we only have about 15 minutes left and we need to move on so that we can address all of our other items.
And just to quickly, well done, yeah, I'm cool on the 14th of October, I'm cool on the 21st of October. I'm out of state on October
28th,
in terms of the Saturday. The best day, but
well, and this date is currently on a Sunday, because that's the only time the venue could accommodate.
again, to tail like, I wouldn't be about the venue, I think. Because people go to the venue, people have been, I've been Alvin Oak will look like Alvin Oak, or Llewellyn will look like Llewellyn's. They're not gonna give me more sort of.
Yeah.
Texture on residential solar, so I think. We just, the house tour drive, and then that's. The wagon, that's not.
So what is the point? What are we discussing right now?
The schedule for the home tour, and is a schedule driven by a venue for tabling, or is it driven by
Okay,
the deadline for the money and the weather and other directions?
okay. So maybe we should hear from all the council all the commission members about that concept. Like, what do you think about one date versus another? Maybe everybody can weigh in on that.
I think that it seems like questionable whether we can actually even accomplish the celebration at all. And I think that we have more on our plates than we can possibly handle for solar, and that we probably need to. It doesn't seem like our timeline is going to work out in order to, so I think we should bring it all down and maybe go with what's the what's an actual realistic possibility for us to accomplish in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, there's no time really, if you think about the calendar and the dates we're talking about, just. We would need to know who's gonna do what when, and we're nowhere near that, right?
Yeah, if the two vendors are unable to join us, I don't really see there being a point to even hosting a celebration event. That was just, it's a tabling event to educate the residents. So if they can't come, then easy, we scrap it. For the home tour, and I apologize, John, when I came on, from what I learned and what Jamie filled me in, I thought the vision was that the celebration would be the same day as the home tour, so that's why I was making that connection. But I mean, the home tour could possibly move, I just don't know. I would just need to really get going on, finding the homeowners that can participate in getting those signs created and printed.
And like I say, I will go and knock on the doors. With the name, I have just got an address search and I have the name.
We can get me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we will work on that and.
How about I find out what the timeline looks like for getting the signs printed?
Great.
And then we can finalize the dates.
And so are we, do we wanna vote now on scrapping celebration or wait until, I guess we'll wait until we hear about the vendors and then decide?
Up to you guys, I mean, we could scrap it now if you want, or we can wait to see if.
Paul, Amna, do either of you guys have any opinions to weigh in?
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry I joined late. But in just listening to the conversation, I think prioritizing the home tour and if possible, just providing people information I'm sorry, I don't know what is on the signs specifically that will be in folks' yards. But providing information about if they are interested in Grow Solar, that could kind of like bridge that, that gap where we wanted to have the Grow Solar folks attend and do the power hour. So I think the home tour, we should definitely move forward with. In terms of capacity, just from hearing what everyone is saying, it sounds like we may be a little bit capacity limited on the solar abrasion part of it. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, so my motion would be that we scrap the celebration and then we see when the signs can be done and set our date based on signage. Does that seem reasonable to everyone? All right, that's my motion. Does anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Great. All in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I have a question about the power hours before we go on. One is a week from tomorrow or next Wednesday.
Correct.
What
Those are run by Grow Solar, so we
Okay,
just,
so we don't need to
we
do
don't need to do
anything.
anything about
Okay.
those. Is that right, Sean? Am I saying
The
that
first
correctly?
one's virtual and John is acting as like the Webster host. He's gonna introduce the Grow Solar people. Jenny's putting the link for it and the information for it online and doing a Facebook events page. So there's really nothing. The second one is in person at the rec center. It would probably be helpful to have a few people from the commission join that evening. They're
can
both
do that.
at 6 p.m.
I'm planning to be there.
6 p.m. for both.
Yeah.
Can you say that date again, Sean? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At the rec.
September 27th is the virtual one. It's October 5th at the rec center. That's the in-person one. So since we're scrapping the celebration, this would be, the in-person, this is the face-to-face time where, to publicize also that the rebates that are available to residents and, so it'd be good if, the commission would have a presence there.
I
And
can-
maybe- Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jen. I can be present at that. And we wanted to hand out bags. I think I was reading the minutes from last month.
Yes.
Yes, good catch.
And Sean, did you say the October fifth is a 6 p.m. start?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, John, that was, that's updated from the original, if that's okay. If you remember.
It's fine, I said 5:30.
Okay, yeah, it was to help people have more time after work. Get
Cool,
there.
okay.
And what's the easy way to get besides Facebook, to get the link to the meeting, the
Um,
event?
the calendar of events, the website. Sorry, calendar of events, Facebook, and the Friday page are our three, I believe those are our three outlets, so. The link would be in the Facebook event site, and then I'll ask Jenny if we can put it in the calendar of events. Because not everybody's on Facebook. Are there any other,
So
where
the
else
only-
could that be?
Well, I'm wondering when our Webster Groves pages and the Kirker Webster Times. That we are, we have a full page every month,
Yeah,
and
Okay.
when that would be.
it's the last edition of the month. And the deadline to have,
Okay, so that would be
yeah, it's coming up, so
bad
this,
timing.
well, so I can get it in. I just have to send it, yeah, if I get it in on Wednesday, I think we can make it,
Yeah, get the QR code or something.
yeah,
Try to get a QR
I-
code made for that, for the paper.
okay, okay,
That's a good idea.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the pumpkin smash. Historically, I have taken care of this with a little help from Jamie. We usually do it on the first Saturday after Halloween. We try to work with the schools to advertise, and anywhere else that anyone has to advertise, that would be great. I will happily organize it again. It is not that hard, and I've done it many times. And I will CC Sean on everything so that she is aware of how it's going. Everyone agree? Great.
I
I'll do
think
that.
they're gonna do it.
Yep.
at public-
What?
This year, think we're gonna do it at Public Works.
Because Mossfield is unavailable.
It's under
Oh,
construction.
about new construction. Good to know. Okay.
But
Yes,
Todd
FYI.
Thanks
said,
for the FYI.
yeah, that came up in the last meeting, and Todd said that it should be able to be held at Public Works, no problem, so
Okay,
include him in your correspondence.
And that's Saturday, the 4th of October. The
yeah,
4th
is
of
that the
November.
first? Yeah, is that the first one?
Yeah, that's the first Saturday. in November.
It could probably go the whole weekend. We previously in the past have not done it. We get the thing for the whole weekend, but we've done it as a 1 day thing because we worry about people bringing their sofas or, mattresses and putting them in our compost bin. So we can think about that as time goes on. But it's not
Sorry, what was the date, did you say?
the November 4th.
October 4th,
No, November 4th.
November.
after Halloween.
After Halloween.
My thinking.
Get a lot more pumpkins. out.
11, yes, we get a lot more
Stuff is out
pumpkins
this
in 11
summer already.
November than October.
Okay, and then the next one is the rec center and city hall WKT red bag recycling pickup. Does anyone have an update on that or something that they need to share?
I believe Carlo was doing it this past month, but every month it would be a new person, I think is what the commission decided at the last meeting.
I can do it.
Yes.
Perfect.
And so it's the rec center and then the
City
bin
Hall.
here down in City Hall.
And so is that the month of September or the month of, is Carla doing it? Carla did it for
Let's say,
August and now this is gonna be month of September,
no, probably
November. No, I'm sorry.
October.
October.
I'm sorry.
You started.
I did, I apologize.
But Karen would take over in October.
Okay,
Yeah, and I've been going to the rec center every other day anyway, so.
Oh,
I mean, I
great.
could just grab them.
Okay,
Great, Thank you.
yeah, maybe touch base with Carla. I know the first week or maybe two, she forgot about it, but I don't know how often she's been going since.
Scott will definitely let us know if it's.
Okay.
He will send Todd my email.
Okay.
Please pick these up or remove the. Cause it
Yeah,
gets kind of dirty.
yeah.
I hope these are like the worst notes. I never took notes in school. This is not my forte. I'm doing, hopefully they're okay. Okay, so then new business, the 2024 speakers series with the green space Advisory council, great. So I know that we have Eric Hayes who's coming up as our first one. That is this Thursday on the 21st at 7 p.m. And I believe it's been advertised everywhere.
Advertised, yeah.
And
Is
then,
it the library?
No, these are all taking place at Webster University inside Browning Hall.
and then, let's see. So,
What's his topic? You know
Kids.
who he is, but what is his topic?
like having kids involved in
Yeah,
great stuff.
yeah.
That's not the actual topic.
This is just for my update tomorrow night at the council
Let me
meeting.
look it
The
up.
power of kids, Hudson Middle School and sustainability.
Do we want to
Okay.
get some bags to them? Or do we want to bring some bags?
That's a
Don't
great
you usually
idea.
have a table? Lots and lots of bags, but I think Eric would like us to.
I'm going and I'll pick up some bags. What time is
Sustainability.
City Hall?
Okay.
What time can I pick them up?
Open 8 to 5. I can grab a box, I can bring you a box, I can. do
They're just
whatever.
downstairs right now. They can
Oh,
take them.
I'll just take a box with me.
Okay, yeah, we can go down and I can grab a
Okay.
box. If you want, I don't know, I just think that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We should bring them to all of our
All
eco
the
series.
speakers, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a
Love
great
it.
idea.
okay, and then does anyone know who our October person is?
It's the wash, it's the Wash U.
Why not even November?
John, that's your cue.
Yeah, I think it is.
Don't you always write all
November.
this off the top of your head, the WashU professor?
I thought he was coming in November.
idea.
Talk, wash you, Professor.
There's
which
only
one?
2 left.
The
I'm
truth
pretty sure.
about plastics is the
I
October.
thought you always.
Okay, yeah, then that's somebody different.
That's
Who's
me
doing
different.
the truth
Okay.
about plastics?
Oh, that's the one from MRCTI. Missouri, Mississippi River Cities and Towns
Oh.
Initiative.
Perfect.
And like, I don't know what they
Do
got
they
to do
have-
with plastic, but that's who's speaking.
Who's the point of contact on that one? Or who has been contacting that one? Do we need to follow up? Does anyone know?
I
Carla,
person was on the list when I came here.
yeah, that's a question for Carla probably, because I know Carla's the contact for Webster and she was the contact for Gene Ponzi and for Eric Hayes. So
Okay.
she might be, or who
person.
would know who.
Okay, I'll ask Jamie too, if I feel like we talked about the Eric Hayes and I don't remember, 'cause I think at one point in time, Carla, myself and Jamie were the speaker series subcommittee. And I don't remember talking about the plastics person, so I will also follow up on this.
Also, there was a topic of honorariums for the speakers that was never resolved or, we haven't, to my understanding, we haven't given any honorariums to the speakers so far, so if so far it's only been Jean that has spoken that was organized through the Sustainability Commission, but if that's something that you guys feel strongly about, we should do, then, we can, Public Works, we could purchase gift cards, maybe, if that's what you wanna do, or.
Does anyone have experience, maybe John, you do, like giving one of these speeches? If I were giving a talk, I probably wouldn't be. Or wouldn't assume or think that anyone, is that like, what is the standard practice?
etiquette
Does anyone
rules?
have etiquette rules on this?
I would say it is not honorary. It's like I'm speaking in Missouri about climate change in a couple of weeks. And
There's no honorarium for you.
well, they said, well, actually, they asked, and I said, no, like, that's not how this ecosystem really works.
That's fair.
Isn't in my experience. And it's people who have, in many cases, they feel like they owe us because we bring them a platform for the projects that they're working. And that is actually the heavier lift and.
So my hearing is that to know.
Sounds like a no to me.
Okay.
Should we do a vote on that? We need to vote on that, yeah. Okay, does somebody want, John, you want to make a motion about no honorariums?
I move that we don't offer honorariums to the speakers for the green speaker series.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed?
I
Sorry, I'm not, are you opposed or no?
I am opposed, but I am okay being the only one opposed.
Do you want, to do you wanna tell us, or do you wanna tell us your opinion so that we make sure we hear it?
Sure. I think it's just from like an equity perspective, I think like respecting people's time, even if it's like a very modest amount, like $50, $100, I think it is a gesture that shows that we appreciate the person's time for coming and speaking, even if we are giving them a platform. But we already voted, so it's in the record, it's done.
I should have heard all the opinions beforehand.
I think the intent is to, like Amna said, and then if you were to go back to that person a year or two later, you're showing, again, you're not taking advantage of their time and expertise.
Let's revote then, so that we can all, since we didn't have all opinions heard. So John's motion was that we don't have honorariums, I seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
I'm now undecided.
We have plenty of time, why don't we just table the honorarium
Table it
until
because I
next
think
time, and we'll have more
There are
commission
important
members.
points on both sides.
Yeah, for
and-
sure.
So we have September speaker and October.
I guess we don't.
October speaker, and that's it.
November,
We have
November
November
as
well.
also. Right, and this was on here for new business also because we talked about it at the subcommittee with green spaces. And the question was, do we want to do it again next year? It's the bottom line. So,
How, I have not been to one, how has attendance been?
good.
And I've been to one.
It's been 30 to 40 people when I've gone.
And has that been, have we kept those numbers as we move from the library to the?
Yes.
There's only been one at Browning Hall so far, I thought. The last.
Prior to Jean, there was the one, the woman with Missouri Conservation Planning,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
and that was there, so. They're getting more popular.
I think they're a really fantastic idea. I haven't only not been to them because they don't align with my work life. But I think that it's a really wonderful way to engage the community and
Yeah, and also because I'll just add, I know that there's an update on here, an item about the Dark Skies Initiative, and there's ordinance language tied with that, and because there was already a speaker series on Dark Sky, that can really help educate the public on things that we might be discussing or planning in the future. I don't see a downside to it really, but.
is Green Space wanting to continue with the,
They're recommending that we do.
That we do.
They want to do it also.
okay,
The subcommittee wants to do it. And Corin's gonna take it to the commission and so we're doing it. Decide what we think.
should we wait until, should we vote now, or should we wait until we have more of our commission? I guess we could vote now.
We still
Pam,
have a
what's your-
quorum, right?
But whether you want to vote or not.
Yeah. Yeah, should we wait, or-
I guess it's a matter of making sure somebody's willing to play the role,
Of the
coordinating
coordinator
with,
and
yeah.
inviting people.
yeah,
Um,
or a subcommittee is willing to do it.
And it seems to me there's a second layer, which is, and I'm sort of a new kid here, so I don't know exactly how this works, but it seems to me it's the question of whether we have an honorarium would then speak to our budget. So if we're, so it seems to me we might want.
You have a budget for the honorarium. Each commission has a limited budget for honoraria or advertising, something like that.
yeah, even before we had like any sort of budget, they still found money, some.
Yeah, so that
something.
you all would equally, every commission kind of equally has, at least the education ones have a number that they can use to help get the word out.
Does it come out of the $100,000?
No, it's just $1,000. It's just a regular, it's a regular
Okay,
budget item.
okay, because if we put it on our pro cards to buy the gift cards or whatever was
Yes,
decided.
that would go toward that little
Then I would-
budget, that's
yes.
a little $1,000.
Yes, that's what I
budget.
would have to figure out.
But didn't we just vote against honorariums?
I think that's.
I think we said we were gonna
Table it.
table it until
Oh.
we had more people.
Sorry.
Sorry, we.
We did.
Or
we voted
advertising
it.
a bucket of money. In the past, some commissions have done a lot of things with money and others did not have a budget for anything, so this was kind of a way to make sure every commission had some money to work with as needed.
It's a friendly follow-up question. Do we make a budget? Like, as this commission, will we make a budget for the next calendar year to say, here's how much we have to spend, here's how we're gonna spend it?
You still have your money from the special initiatives fund to use, and so we're using the 20,000 for the rebates. And then we're also using the money for the greenhouse gas inventory. So there's a pot there that is to be used. I think that's the only thing that's been designated so far for this year. And that will carry over to the next year if, you want me to ask them to.
And I guess it's just as a process thing, I'm thinking we might want to have a process where we, before calendar year 2024 starts, make a budget.
Yeah, that's usually like in February, March, April.
Is when council starts their budget talks for the
Yeah.
next
Oh,
fiscal
so it's
year.
not
So
the
that's-
calendar year, but it's the municipal fiscal year?
This fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th. And then that's the way the cycle goes, is starting January, February, March, the commissions start figuring out if they want money and how much and for what purpose. And then it goes to council later in the year, and then we start talking about it. There's already a dollar amount on your line in the budget.
Who's got money, for the stormwater?
That was a separate that was a separate amount, but then the commission did, I think, offer a certain, 25 or 50 to go to it. I need to look at the budget amendments. There is a budget amendment that we made to go to what sustainability was gonna kick in.
And that's part of that, $100.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
25 or 20, whatever that number is, and then the 20,000 for solar,
And
and then the
EV,
55, well.
yeah. Solar, it was technically solar and EV, but you eliminated that to just be solar.
I think they eliminated that just to be solar, and then the 5,500 for the greenhouse gas.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So if we were to make a budget, the appropriate time to look at that would be end of Q1 or something like that. As
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah.
calendar.
Yeah,
So I think what we need to then decide is that let's mull over, everyone think about it before the next meeting, if they're willing to be the person who is the point person for the Eco Ed series. And then we can have our vote on whether or not we continue to the Eco Ed series, if there's the bandwidth at our group to do it. Does that seem reasonable?
I would, I don't want to be the flying new admin here, but it's sort of like. If we knew, okay, here's the universe we have to spend, and then we look at all the different ideas. Then that's one way to make a budget, is look at like sort of piecemeal, this idea comes up, say yes to it, because the reality is money's.
well, I mean, at this point. The speaker ed series isn't costing anything, right? So it's not really a budget, that's not a budget question, it's more about your programming.
But if the vote were
Meaning-
to have an honorarium, then. I'm saying if we say, okay, we're gonna do 10 events, we're gonna do $100 honorarium, we're gonna spend $1,000. Then it would be a question of, okay, well. If we spend that 1,000, well, what is that? How do we wanna spend our money?
You've
How do
already
we
got the
forward?
$1,000 for this purpose. I don't think we need to define it right now. You've got this $1,000 already through till June 30th. And the concept behind it was not really for initiatives. It was for you to spend as needed for advertising, small money, small budget amounts to spend for advertising or cupcakes at a at a speaker series or an honoraria or something to just to get the word out and to help, amplify your programming. It's not for another initiative than that, other than that. And it's really just a small amount, just like I said, to kind of help equalize what all the commissions are doing. So it's not fair for some commissions to have a pot of money and others to not.
And so the deadline to spend in terms of the municipal budget is July 30th.
June
30th.
Yeah.
June 30th. Okay, when I guess. So I guess my point would be, we could, if it's a grant, we could have a discussion of spending ads in times, are we spending it in our area, we're gonna have snacks at the events, like, just seems like that's a.
I think it's already part of the budget. It's part of the budget already.
Well, it is part of the budget, but we couldn't,
But
like,
we
we couldn't
wouldn't
say,
spend it
okay,
on
we're
like-
gonna give $300 honorariums and cupcakes for everybody, because we don't have that much money. We'd have to make some budget to say, here's the priorities and here's sort of.
And some of it is Sean and Vera's purview, for, I know they've done, in the past, there's been attendance at seminars or attendance at, a MOBOT event, that kind of thing. We want to send commission members to something. It's kind of just as the money, as it is needed, you've got that money to cover what is needed.
Yeah, I think it's covered in the past, the compost or the.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will follow up on the speaker series for 2024. And does anyone want to speak on the Dark Sky Initiative?
All three of these were part of the subcommittee meeting
Perfect.
for green spaces. And
Perfect.
the Dark Skies was basically the subcommittee was in agreement that we would like to pursue all three of these. The third one, Stormwater Master Plan. Corin reminded us that the reason that we recommended updating the master plan so that makes us eligible for the 319, section 319 grant funding. And now that the plan is updated, the question is, how can we help the city locate and apply for this sort of funding, which seems like kind of a big question for this moment in time.
It's not updated yet.
Okay,
It's not updated yet. The contract was issued to,
okay, well, the next.
and Logic. So
Is
the
the
contract has been
updated,
issued, but they have to go out and do a lot of footwork and gather data. And, create the survey for the residents. So we're not
So it's
there
underway.
yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have some time to think about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
There's actually going to be a survey that we talked about that's gonna be going out to the residents to help part of their
Okay, that one.
information gathering phase. So it's
Okay,
go,
it's coming together in my head now.
Yeah,
Yes, all the
yeah.
little pieces.
How long do you think that will take, Farron? Do you have like a couple months?
I'd have
probably?
to go back and look at my, at least.
Yeah,
I mean, they're
okay.
walking creeks. They're gonna
Yeah.
survey all the residents, like, where do you have water? Do you have water in your basement, in your yard? So I'm envisioning more like 8 to 12 months, but I don't wanna confirm that until I go back and look at the schedule from Intuition and Logic.
Yeah, okay, good to know. It's not a quick process.
No. I mean, they'll be waiters
Yeah.
on walking creeks and stuff.
Well, I did see, didn't we get good news that we got federal money to buy out 2 of the flooded houses next to Deer Creek Park?
it's not a done deal. It's not a done deal, but we made the
They
The
wrote
next
about it on,
phase.
like NPR or say something like that, maybe. I read it in something.
Yeah, I guess FEMA issued the press release about it.
Gotcha.
And it just basically said, we're moving these forward, but it's not a done
That's
deal.
that deal.
It's just, it's.
We
moved-
cleared the
moved
first
forward.
round.
Yeah.
Now we're in the second round.
That's good.
That's good.
Okay, so the last thing then is that the next meeting is going to be Monday, October 16th. And with that being said, and that we are almost 20 minutes over, would anyone like to motion to adjourn?
I'll make the question.
All right, John motions to adjourn. Does anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Aaron seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. All right.
Good job.
Really spread that up at the end. Good job, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Elizabeth.
Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Thank you.